Welcome back to Zlatan's Fight Picks. Today we'll do the recap for UFC 300, Pereira versus Hill. We'll go over the board, we'll see what went right, what went wrong, talk a little bit about the fights. It was a great card. Everyone was motivated to knock people out with the $300,000 in bonus. I'm not even sure who got it, but there's actually quite a few people who deserved it, that's for sure. Let's start with the board. We'll go with the most to least favorite. We'll talk about the fights. Bo Nickel, yeah, I mean, we knew he was going to win. You know, wasn't much. It wasn't no bet at all. It's most favorite. I mean, it was worth a dog shot, I guess, on Brundage just because of the odds. But yeah, Nickel should have won. I mean, he did win. Easy victory. So yeah, not much to say about that. It's a shame that it was on the main card. I don't think it had to be. Moving on, Figueiredo, minus 300. Second most favorite for me. Well, second most confidence for Figueiredo. And yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to get the KO. I had money on the KO, but he ended up getting a submission, which is, just as good if you bet on it. Yeah, it was a fairly straightforward fight. I mean, you got a pretty good fighter in Garbrandt, but he's got some weak points. And Figueiredo, he is kind of a tweener. He's not super tall, but he's very tall. I mean, he's very stout, very strong, and very durable. And yeah, there was no way he was going to lose this fight, but he was getting hit, but he could absorb it. And Cody, when he was getting hit, you can see he was taking him as well. Eventually, he probably would have got the KO. Figueiredo would have got the KO at some point if he kept it on the feet and landing. But he went to the path of least resistance. He was obviously way better than him on the ground. He took him down quite easily. This is a good pick. Wei Li. Well, I didn't watch that fight, so all I know is Wei Li won. So I got a check mark. I missed that fight. Sorry, guys. So I'll watch it, but I didn't get a chance to watch that fight. I don't know if it ended early or if it went to 5 rounds. Sorry, guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, but I was expecting Wei Li to win by decision. I think she won by decision. I had a bet on her to win by decision because it really wasn't worth betting her at the minus 525. I think it might have went down to minus 450 on somewhere, but it was better odds when you bet her by decision. So I had her by decision, and that's what happened. So I know it worked. So moving on to the underdog section. You know what? These are still fairly confident by underdog section, but I gotta admit, these were big mistakes. Like, honestly, I like Lopes or Lopez. I don't know how he says his name. And I always bet on the guy. And this time I thought, you know what? He's taking a big step up in competition. And I thought Yusuf didn't do that good last time. And I think there was recency bias having him as the underdog. And I thought there was some value there. But Lopes just came in and just destroyed this guy. It wasn't even close. It was way too big, way too strong. Striking was on point and just took him out really quick. So yeah, I watching that fight, I go, wow. I mean, I don't know if it was that Lopes had that great of a performance, or Yusuf just got touched up real early and didn't have a chance to warm up and just got put out. So nevertheless, don't want to take anything away from Lopes. I really like him. Yeah, it's just scary because you don't know how much of it was Lopes being so good and Yusuf just not being as good as I thought he was. He's very chinny, obviously. I think he's getting worse. And again, is he getting worse, or is Lopes just bringing it out because he's that good? Nevertheless, that was a mistake. I wasn't really happy with that one. Up to that point, all the early prelims, I'd gotten them all right, so I was very excited for the massive parlay I had, because the 4 fights to start off the card, I'd nailed all of them. So I was very excited, and Yusuf was the first one to bring that to an end. So, and not only that, he ended up the shorter parlay as well. Yeah, disappointed in Yusuf. I can hardly wait to fade him like everyone else, but you don't want to read too much into it because there are guys he's still going to beat. But man, he didn't look good. His chin looked terrible. Cater, another big disappointment. Maybe a biased towards Sterling because I hate his fighting style. It's the clutch grab and try to backpack you, boring. I mean, people were booing these guys, and they should because it's a terrible style. Sterling doesn't have a good style. I hate watching him, and I really want him to lose. So maybe that would play a little bit of bias in that. But Cater was long. He was the bigger guy. You know, he's an excellent boxer, and you think that some of that with him being the natural 145er, you would think you would see something like you saw when Sterling fought O'Malley. And it was nothing, not even close. Sterling just dominated this guy on the ground. This guy had no answers. Eventually he would get taken to the ground. He was just getting mauled on the ground. Nothing was happening. He was just being held on the ground, and held on the ground, and held on the ground. It was a terrible fight. Nevertheless, Cater, I mean, he showed an obvious weakness on the ground that I'm sure everyone's going to try to exploit. But Sterling, you know, I mean, he just goes to show like he's going to be able to still beat a lot of these guys at 145 if they don't have a ground game or a defense. So there you go. Those were really big disappointments. You know, I was really thinking hard afterwards. I'm just thinking to myself and going, why did I pick these guys? And what was I seeing before the fight, which I didn't see during the fight? So had to reevaluate a few things. Moving on. Green, you know, he was mid-level confidence. Like he could have been up here as well. And he dominated that fight. And apart from like maybe one brief moment where he got hurt just, you know, a little bit in the first round, I think. You know, and I think that was, what's his face's, Miller's best round was the first round. And then, and I still think Green won that round anyway. But then Green took over in the second and just dominated him in the third. And yeah, just a dominating performance on Green's part. He wasn't going to let Miller have that victory in 300. He had a victory in 100, 200. Well, and like Green said, you know, you're not going to get it this time. Good fight. Green just dominated him. And yeah, I mean, Green is not chinny. He took a lot of punishment and he fought his game plan. He's still good. It's really good. Gaethje, I mean, everybody saw that fight. Fantastic fight. And, you know, Holloway just, I mean, I was thinking that Holloway would lower his volume because of Gaethje's power. And Holloway took his power and still kept up the volume and dominated that fight overall. And in the end, he just knocked him out in the last second of the last round, which was crazy. So, you know, and I didn't want to bet against Gaethje because I remember betting against Gaethje against Fiziev, and then him coming out back and you're reminding us why you shouldn't underestimate him. But I mean, Holloway at 155, this time at 155 rather than last time, looked really good. So looking forward to seeing him fight again. I mean, yeah, he looked really good. Mistake. Andrade, you know, she was hurting. I think it was a split decision. I don't even know if it should have been a split decision. I thought Andrade was definitely hurting Rodriguez a little more, but Rodriguez was landing some volume, and I guess it could have gone either way. But, you know, I still think Andrade wanted to fight. You know, she still took her to the ground. She still had landed the bigger shots, and you could see Rodriguez fading as the fight went on to the power. Although there was a few moments there where Rodriguez, you know, picked it up and got some good combinations and some volume off on Andrade. It's hard to bet on Andrade, you know, like, I mean, she beats the people who she's supposed to beat. And Rodriguez was weak enough and not strong enough where she could still implement her physicality on her. But it was close. Andrade won that fight. It was a good pick. Rakic, this was a 50-50 fight. I kept saying it was a 50-50 fight. And the only reason I picked Rakic is because I thought he was going to be the more consistent fighter, fights to the game plan. You know, he's tough, he's durable, he's got good leg kicks, he's got decent striking. He's not explosive, he hasn't been knocking people out. But I thought if, as long as he keeps, well, he doesn't get knocked out, he's going to win the fight. And sure enough, he won. He clearly won the first round, and he was clearly winning the second round. But Yuri, you know, he was not going to be denied. He went after him hardcore, and there was only one way Yuri was going to win, and that was to knock Rakic out. And he just laid it all out there. He was willing to take as many shots as possible, and Rakic couldn't hold him back with his power. And Yuri was just absorbing the shots until he got close enough to land a shot on Rakic, which stunned him. And then, you know, he kept going after him. And Rakic, you know, to his credit, you know, he just didn't give up. He tried to survive. He tried to survive. And there was a few moments where if he had controlled Yuri a little better on the ground, he might have been able to survive. But he just was absorbing too many shots, and then the fight stopped. And that was, I mean, up to that point, Rakic was winning. So, and that's the fight I thought was going to play out. Is Rakic being consistent and winning the fight, or Yuri landing a power shot and possibly knocking him out? And, you know, for the most of the fight, over half of it, Rakic was on his way. But Yuri did manage to find that shot, and then he TKO'd him and stopped him. Yeah, and that's going to be a tough, Yuri's going to always be a tough fighter to bet on, because he's always going to be losing the fight until he's winning the fight. And it was almost the same for him against Pereira, where Pereira was losing the fight against Yuri until, you know, he knocked Yuri out. And that's exactly what happened with Rakic, only in the opposite way. Moving on to Pereira. Well, you know, you can't count this guy out. This guy's too powerful. And like I said, for a while there, I was counting him out. 36 years old, after the bad knockout from Izzy, you know, I thought, okay, this was the beginning of the end. And, you know, and he surprised me every time. And I said, I'm not betting against this guy. Even though everyone's on Hill, and Hill's got a great shot at it, I'm not going to bet against Pereira again. He's going to absorb the shots, and he's got a devastating leg kick, and he's going to land his shots. It's going to be the hardest shot. So he won the fight, I mean, in the first round, so it was a great fight. But Pereira, definitely tough guy. He's talking about moving on to heavyweight. I don't know if that's true, but kind of crazy. Moving on, Manny Moicano. Well, it was worth him winning just to watch his speech after the fight. So anyways, plus 200. This was the fight. You know, I kept saying that if he gets out of the first round, Moicano is going to really start to put it on. And that's because I was talking to somebody online, and they were on Turner, and I said, I think Turner's got a great chance to win in the first round. But the problem is, Turner is a great hammer. He's not a good nail. And that showed, because, well, Moicano was actually winning the fight, and he was actually controlling Turner, took him to the ground, landed his fair share of shots until the last 20 seconds or something like that of the fight, where Turner landed a straight punch just down the pipe and knocked Moicano down. And I was really worried. I thought, oh man, the fight's going to be over. But Moicano fell to his button, and he rolled back and he got back up, and Turner just threw his hands up like he was going to do a walk-off KO. And Herbert Dean, to his credit, didn't just jump in and stop the fight, because Moicano wasn't knocked out, and he got right back up. And Turner should have probably jumped on him, but maybe he was actually too scared to jump on him. Maybe he was just throwing his hands up because he wanted the ref to jump in and stop the fight without him having to go to the ground. I don't know. I'm just guessing, considering when you look at what happened with Aslan and Turkali and Copeland, who was the ref, you know, when Aslan knocked Turkali down and Turkali fell on his butt and was holding himself up, and Aslan stopped, like, hey, I just knocked this guy down, and Copeland thought about it, then he realized, and he jumped in and he stopped the fight. He was almost like baited or you know, guided into stopping the fight from the other fighter because of his reaction, like, hey, look, I just won the fight. And Copeland's there, oh, maybe this guy's more hurt than I thought. He jumped in and stopped the fight. He shouldn't have stopped the fight. And, you know, Herb Dean wasn't buying into this. He just let Moicano get back up. And then Moicano survived the end of the round. And then, of course, he went back to the second round, and Moicano was winning the second round again. Moicano was winning the first round. I don't know if they gave it to him because of that last knockdown, but I think one of the judges gave it to Moicano. Two of the judges might have given it to Turner just because of the last knockdown. But up to that point, Moicano was winning the fight anyway. And of course, Moicano eventually got hurt Turner, then he got Turner to the ground, and he just ground and pounded him. Couldn't afford to lose. It was a good bet. I was really happy with that. Moving on, another really close fight, coin flip fight. Oliveira, split decision. And not mad about the decision, but Oliveira at plus 170, and everyone's on Tsarukian. And I thought, you know what? It's a coin flip as far as I see it. This guy has a chance for a sub. The other guy's going to be dominating. Taking him to the ground, maybe even outlanding him, probably fairly even on the feet. But Oliveira got taken down, but he kept reversing positions and going for chokes. And it was a split decision at plus 170. I'd rather be holding the plus 170 than the minus 250 or whatever it was, or 200 for Tsarukian. I thought it was a really close fight. And I was really disappointed. I really wanted to hit this plus 170. It was so close. It definitely would have been a much more profitable day with this one. With just a little extra I needed. Nevertheless, moving on. Least confident was Holly Holm. Plus 325. You got a debut fighter coming in from a much a lower league, fighting lower competition, dominating everybody, losing, going from 155, 135 pounds. I thought it was a dog or pass type of thing. When I saw Holly Holm fight, I couldn't believe what she was doing. I mean, the other girl is learning to strike, but she's a judoka, so she's really good on the ground, good takedowns. I mean, you'd think Holly Holm would not want to get in the clinch and not want to take her to the ground. But Holly Holm was doing exactly that. And she lost those exchanges, and in the second round, she was losing the striking exchanges too. Maybe because she was scared she was going to get taken down. But, she was trying to take the other girl down. It was absolutely ridiculous. And I saw like a clip. She was saying, well, we had a game plan and I didn't stick to the game plan. I'm there like, well, thank God for that, because if your game plan was originally to clinch up and try and take her to the ground and fight her on the ground, that's just stupid, considering your whole career has been built on kickboxing and striking. And this other girl is new to kickboxing and striking. It didn't make any sense. It was a terrible fight. I don't know if it was such a bad judgment call as much as it was just a big mental breakdown on Holm. Kayla did look very strong. Her striking didn't look very, very bad. It looked pretty good. And she was really good on the ground. She was really, really big, really muscular, really powerful. She looked really good. To her credit, Holly Holm might have had a chance if she had stuck to a game plan that did not involve taking somebody down and clinching them up, considering that's their game. If that was not Holly's game plan, I think it would have been a close fight, and I would have been happy holding the plus 325 ticket in a close fight, kind of like the Oliveira plus 170, and it was a split decision. But least confident, definitely disappointing. So that's that. Well, it was a good card. Overall, things worked out pretty good. Definitely have to revisit some fighters the next time they fight, like Yusuf and Cater. But you don't want to undersell them or underrate them too much, because it was the type of fighter they fought was definitely a good fighter. So nevertheless, thank you very much for joining me. Hit the like button if you like the content. Subscribe if you want to get notified next time I put out the next video, and it'll be next week for UFC Vegas. I believe it's 91 or 92. And that'll be out next Wednesday. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining me, and have a great weekend. We will talk to you guys next week.